What a crazy turn of events this week for Ryan Garcia. He's got an upcoming fight. People are saying that this mental breakdown is part of the promotion for this fight. There is crazy tweets going back and forth all day, every day with caps on. The rumor mill is working overtime on this one. He owes millions in gambling debt.
Poker games that he's losing millions of dollars at because I've played at some of those games and they tell me how much of a fish he is.
He's trying to promote this fight to try and make more money. That doesn't make sense to me. He's addicted to cocaine and he's addicted to drugs and he's smoking the best of weed and it's affecting his performance. We can see it every time he opens his mouth and speaks in public. Is that true? We don't know. It's alleged at this stage. That brings us to the more sinister part of this whole story, where he starts going down the route of the Bohemian Grove. He starts talking about Alex Jones. He starts talking about stuff that he's seen. He goes on a Twitter space with Andrew Tate and it gets real saucy, and there's much more to this whole story, but I'm going to try condense it down into just my thoughts and maybe the thoughts of Sean Strickland, because he seems to be the only one that's looking at this from a perspective and maybe a public position in the same light that I do. And for me, there is a multitude of reactions online. People are making content left, right and center, and the consensus seems to be, let's laugh at Ryan Garcia. Let's call for Ryan Garcia not to compete in his upcoming fight. Let's call him mentally ill, and can we please get some professionals in here and possibly get him removed from the public space. Now, all these YouTubers are terrified to talk about the issues that he has brought up, and granted, he is a little bit unhinged in terms of the way he's doing it, but it always seems to be the case when someone that's in the public eye comes out and talks about this stuff. And I think that all these guys that I talked about that are covering this story online and that are laughing at him and saying that he needs to be institutionalized and saying that he doesn't need to fight and that his phone needs to be taken off of him, they're literally playing into the hands of the elites, if we want to call them that. Other people have other names for them, but I'm telling you that the people that are in positions of power throughout Hollywood, and everybody knows who these people are, they're rubbing their hands together today with glee at the reaction of TikTokers, influencers, YouTubers, people across the Twitter space to Ryan Garcia's explosive claims that he saw some crazy ass stuff happening. They're rubbing their hands together going, yes, this is another Kanye West situation where we will just let the public and their indoctrinated, fluoridated minds work their magic and demonize this guy as a crazy crackpot who needs to get locked up. They love it. Their plan literally just worked out one more time in their favor. Is there ever gonna be a celebrity, whatever way you want to call these guys, or an influencer, or someone with a huge platform that comes out and calls out the disgusting depravity that we know 100% for a fact happens with these Hollywood elites, with these people that are in power all over the world, people that control the banking system, people that control the music industry, people that control Hollywood? Everybody knows who they are. We're not allowed to speak about them. Definitely not on this platform. This is a very saucy one. Actually, whilst I'm talking about that, maybe hit subscribe if you can, because this is going to be demonetized, probably get me deplatformed. I don't know, because no one is actually talking about the claims that he made with any legitimacy. We see the client list that was released this year. We see the court cases that never happened. We see the self-depletion of people, or more so the not self-depletion of these people, and everybody is like, okay, we're not allowed to say these words online, we're not allowed to say this person's name online, and we're definitely not allowed to name them online. And you have to ask yourself a question, when are we going to get to a stage where we have someone that comes out and doesn't slur their speech when calling out these elites, that doesn't beat the Bible relentlessly during their public denouncement of the elites? And that's not to say that what they're saying is not true in terms of satanic movements within the industries, because we know it. We just look at the likes of Taylor Swift and Megan Fox and Machine Gun Kelly, the list goes on and on and on. Or in terms of Hollywood superstars or the people that are there to influence our kids, these people are disgusting and vile. So we're not saying that this stuff is not true. I think that there's a better way to portray yourself if you're going to expose this type of stuff. And whilst every content creator and influencer is dogging and laughing and sneering and pointing at Ryan Garcia for what he has done this week in the public space, this plays in perfectly for the people that are perpetrating these vile acts on young people. These people that like that underage stuff. They're loving it, because as soon as somebody comes out and calls it out, they get destroyed and torn down, just like Ryan Garcia. Nobody is talking about the claims that he made. Nobody is talking about the fact that Bohemian Grove is a legitimate place where legitimate rituals happen and young people and underage people are kind of the butt of these rituals, nobody's talking about it. Nobody's talking about client lists. Nobody's talking about P. Diddy. All of a sudden, let's all laugh and sneer and point the finger at Ryan Garcia because he's clearly out of his head having a manic episode. And we see shills like Logan Paul and Jake Paul's sidekick Loser jumping on Spaces, trying to attack him, saying, bro, where's your people? They should take your phone. You need to be stopped. Of course he needs to be stopped. Of course, because he's saying the quiet part out loud. I could go over all these crazy tweets. I could go over the spaces that he's on. I could go over the interviews and the public appearances that he's made during the last couple of weeks where he does sound hoarse and he does sound groggy and he does sound out of it. I could go over all that, and that would just play into the hands of these disgusting, vile elites even more. I'm not going to do that. For a little second, I'm going to talk about what he's actually saying as much as I can without getting shut down and deplatformed. Over here, right, Ryan Garcia is talking about some YouTuber, TikToker guy who I don't even know. And just with the smallest Google search on the guy, he sounds a little bit vile. And let me tell you, when you do a little bit of a research on these influencers, they all seem to like underage people a lot. They love that little demographic and they love to go after it, and they're pretty overt about talking about it as well. Just takes the smallest bit of research to actually see what these young influencers are interested in. So Ryan Garcia went after this guy Bryce Hall. I think he does some bare knuckle online influencer boxing, and then as a caveat to that, he likes young kids and stuff like that. I don't know. So this guy's a TikTok influencer, so his demographic is 9 to 14-year-old children. Perfect for him, allegedly. Whatever. Ryan Garcia goes after him a small bit. So Ryan Garcia went after him in one of these like manic viral tweets, if you want to call them that, right? Take me to the Supreme Court and I will defend these claims. I will go out of my way to defend every single one of these claims. Go to court, stand before a judge and prove every single one of these claims. Bryce Hall, sorry to do this to you, but apologizing for messing with underage kids. Remember Taylor told me and showed me? You need to repent and stop hiding behind TikTok and its clout. So Ryan Garcia seems to have some sort of inside knowledge or inside track on what this guy is up to. Grand, he put it out there on the internet. This guy takes offense. But how does he respond, right? I'm going to be careful with this tweet because there's words here that I'm definitely not allowed to say, but I'm going to have it up on screen so you can read it yourself. It's true. Ryan was with me on this island. We got recruited by the Illuminati together and did a blood sacrifice whilst worshipping Satan. He's trying to leave the cult now and he's getting exposed by the masses. Now this is an ironic, funny TikTok influencer type of tweet, right? This guy thinks it's funny to talk about young children having vile things done to them. He thinks it's funny to reference islands where there was kids trafficked in by elite Hollywood people, and we know their names. It's all out there. This is not some conspiratorial attack on the elites or the Illuminati or any of that stuff. This is just facts. This guy's on here. He's joking about it. He's laughing about it. Sean Strickland doesn't like that. And I like that Sean Strickland doesn't like that. He responded to this guy. If it wasn't for Sneeko, I wouldn't know who this man is. And one day I'm gonna bitch slap you. But when you get accused of being a file and then you joke about being a file, it looks a little suspicious. Maybe assaulting you will be the Lord's work. Sean Strickland has taken massive offense to that tweet, as many did. When you go through the actual replies in there, everyone is like, bro, this ain't funny. What are you talking about children for? And also, it makes you look 1000% guilty, you absolute vile piece of shit. That's what the consensus seems to be in the replies. Sean Strickland doesn't like it, and he's talking about doing the Lord's work. And when we scan down here, we can see that there's bunches of people responding, going, yeah, you look like you're suspicious, bro. But I like when we go into the hidden comments down here, we can see that Sean Strickland is responding to another lad, and it's quite interesting. So this lad says to him, I think he was joking, Strick, but he could be guilty regardless. Who really knows? And Strickland says, let me tell you, if USADA ever pops me, I'm going to tell them go fuck themselves. The guilty ones tend to joke about it. Happens all the time. That's quite interesting, and that's quite true. We see it over and over again when you have these cases of people going missing or people having their lives ended, and the perpetrators go on screen, they go on the news, they go on to help the police, and it's them all along. So not that joking is always an omission of guilt, but quite possibly could be with these influencers. Do the research yourself. These lads love young kids. Love them. This guy responds to Sean Strickland. I followed Sneeko because of you. In comparison to other young content creators like Doherty and Island Boys, his isn't as dog shit. And Sean Strickland follows that up with, don't follow any of these cunts. And that's a great piece of advice from Sean Strickland. So I just wanted to highlight this little segment of this story because people don't really want to talk about it. They don't want to talk about underage kids being brought to islands. They don't want to talk about media moguls grooming and bringing all these children up into a position of power, offering them fame, offering them fortune, but at what price? We look back at the likes of a Leonardo DiCaprio.
The latest, hottest, hunkiest teen idol there is.
Yeah, muscles.
Look, speaking of hunky, huh?
And the people that were around him, and we look back at what Disney did to young kids. All this stuff is coming to light as we speak in current times, and for some reason YouTubers, influencers, TikTok creators, all these people, they don't really want to talk about it. Only crackpots talk about it. Conspiracy theorists, tinfoil hat wearing people want to talk about all this absolute and utter depravity that is documented in the mainstream. But let's not talk about it. Let's laugh at Ryan Garcia. Let's point the finger at him. Let's see if we can get his phone taken off of him. Let's see if we can get his bank accounts frozen. Let's see if we can get him thrown into a mental institution. That seems to be the consensus online surrounding this story. And if we look at all these content creators, they all have one thing in common. One, they're talking about him to boost content, boost numbers, and get in the algorithm. And two, they don't give a shit about children. They don't give a shit about them being kidnapped, groomed, trafficked, any of that. And the fact that Ryan Garcia is highlighting it is funny to them. And seeing jokes from the likes of this dude Bryce Hall, Sean Strickland doesn't like that shit, and neither do I. Let me know your thoughts down below. Maybe hit like, subscribe, and share. As I said, this is a saucy one. And let me know what you think of all these content creators who are getting massive numbers on a daily basis, who are covering this story ad nauseum, but seem to be missing that little element of actual people getting hurt. Forget about that. That's not important. Let's make sure that we can get this dude's silence. That seems to be what's happening.